independent in thought and punk rock in life. It's The Chad Benson Show.
The publisher of the National Enquirer, American Media Company Incorporated, or AMI, admitted it knew it would break campaign finance laws by paying $150,000 to buy Playboy playmate Karen McDougal's story to bury it. At the same time, publishing negative images of Hillary Clinton on the tabloid covers. Court documents say after announcing his run, President Trump met with his personal attorney, Michael Cohen, and close friend, AMI CEO David Pecker.
Yeah, very interesting. David Pecker and the Trumpster are friends. They definitely, the whole Ted, I remember when Ted Cruz had issues and there was talks of him with hookers. I was like, I'm telling you, if the Enquirer gets something, usually got to say, ooh, there's something to it, right? Because they're usually the ones that have everything before everybody else. There were TMZ long before TMZ. And this is very interesting because it does involve some stuff when it comes to the president. And, I think we should get it all out there. Let's find out what it's all about. This is about Catherine McDougal, who's just smoking hot. She is. I'm going to say this, and some of you are going to push back. I look at her and I look at Melania and I say, you know what? I kind of got a little soft spot for McDougal. She is a smoking hot woman, but she took the money, right? Apparently she wanted to go out with her story. She must have been shopping a story somewhere, somehow, and she took the money. But it wasn't just all of that. I mean, they're cooperating for a reason because they're sniffing around. Now, this isn't Russia. Right? This all started out Russia. Let's remember that. This all started out as a Russia, and it's not there. And earlier today, Sean Wu, CNN legal analyst, was on talking about all of this stuff. And remember, the way I look at it is if you broke the law and you've done something wrong, really, really wrong, you should pay a price for it. Listen to what he says about, well, what if Trump left?
Does this mean that this president is likely to be indicted on this charge when he leaves office?
Well, my opinion is there's enough to indict him there. I mean, they have accused him of participating in this. I think the question of whether they would indict him when he leaves office, to some extent, still will be a political question at that time. I mean, if he were to resign or be impeached while he's in office, I think there won't be much energy behind pursuing him afterwards.
So that says everything I need to know. So basically what you're saying is if he was to leave office, you're going to say, we're good. Have a wonderful day. We're not going to chase you. Which makes me think this is just, when people say it's a political witch hunt and everybody's like, no, it's not. It's about the truth. Well, if it's really about the truth, if it's really about prosecuting somebody who's committed a crime, it doesn't end when you give up that job. Right? Then it should continue. It shouldn't end. And I think there's something to this stuff with, because AMI and David Pecker, they came forward and said, yeah, we'll talk, but we want immunity. That wasn't really on Mueller's radar as of yet. I mean, I'm sure he would have probably got to it, but they got to it a little bit earlier. And that is very interesting. So what I took away from that whole point that Sean Wu made was, oh, there won't be political appetite to chase. So if we just get his ass out of there, we're good to go. If you leave now, we won't chase you anymore. If you bounce, it's all good. We'll let bygones be bygones, and we're not going to chase you. We were talking about yesterday, but he's like, well, if Trump wasn't president, he'd be in some serious trouble with all of this stuff. And I said, if Trump wasn't president right now, we would know about any of this stuff. Manafort would still be out doing Manafort stuff. Cohen would still be his fixture. All of these things would still be going on because nobody would have cared. It's the fact that he is president that people do care. But then we get to the question about campaign finance. This is Dan Abrams, my man from A&E's Live PD, who is also a lawyer, pretty smart dude, talking about campaign finance laws.
Campaign finance laws are unique in the sense that they require you have to have known you were violating the law.
That's tough to prove. I mean, we saw that with, and Trump brought it up today in one of his tweets about Edwards, John Edwards went through this, and he actually went to trial, and he won, and was acquitted on all charges. It's tough, man. It's going to be tough out there to prove some of these things, but I do think there's some, at least with some of this stuff, there is some monkey business that has gone on, and I think politically it may bite him in the butt, but how much does it hurt him overall? Because at the same time, while he's saying, yeah, okay, maybe I did this, I didn't really know what we were doing, I told him to do something, Cohen didn't know what the law was, he screwed up, that's on him, I put a lot of money into my campaign, blah, 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 blah. He can plead all kinds of, plausible deniability here, there, and everywhere, and probably get away with it. Okay. And then he can stand up and say, remember what this started out as? What? It started out as that, Russia. We're no longer even close to Russia. We've moved on, and now we're looking at other things that had nothing to do with Russia. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Ted Lieu is a Democratic senator who was on CNN, I think it was yesterday morning, and he talked about free speech because, of course, you had the CEO of Google. He's up there, and he's got 5 minutes to talk to Ted. Ted Lieu's got 5 minutes, like the rest of them, to grill him. And he somehow got onto the question of free speech, and Ted Lieu came out and said this:
I would love to be able to regulate the content of speech. The First Amendment prevents me from doing so.
Well, yeah, that pesky First Amendment, and that's not something to be taken lightly. The thought process of somebody saying, I would love to be able to regulate free speech. And I posed the question today, should government be able to regulate free speech? Now, in fairness to Ted Lieu, he went on to talk about, well, it's not good that government should do that, but maybe companies.
And that's simply a function of the First Amendment. But I think over the long run, it's better that government does not regulate the content of speech. I would urge these private sector companies to regulate it better themselves, but it's really nothing that I believe government can do. And so that's been my position all along. And
it's funny because he says, I believe it's nothing government can do, as if to say, I mean, we would like to, but we can't. We just know we can't. But that's the insanity. Why? First of all, what is even considered hate speech? Because if you talk to one person, they're going to give you a completely different thing. Right? You say something that it's a joke and somebody's offended, they may say that's hate speech, right? You post a picture, if you're Kevin Hart, of you Cowboys and Indians birthday party for your kids, somebody say that may be hate speech. I mean, who gets to decide? And I got a lot of pushback from some people, but I got a lot more people who said, you know what, that's insane to even think about that. How could you even pretend to even want to talk about that? And somebody's like, says, hey, look, we should allow the government to regulate it. And people that work there, legislators and judges, will be able to decide. I'm like, no. So like a panel? No, you're going to let people, congressmen and women, to decide what we're going to be able to say? That's insane. People buy into that. People think it's, oh, yeah, maybe. If you want to give up some of your freedoms that fast, knock yourself out. You didn't deserve those things anyways. You didn't. Do I like what some people say? No. Do I respect the right that companies have to say we don't want that on our platform? Yeah. I don't always agree, but I respect the right that it's their platform and they can do that. But when you start down this slippery slope, as we all know, where do you end up? That's the scary thing. That is the scary thing. Because from there, what do you do? Is it thought? Well, you can't regulate thought. Not yet. But you never know. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Butcher Box. Gosh, last night I had just the most amazing dinner. And meat is amazing. It really is. You know, I mean, I'm a vegetarian except for the part where I don't eat vegetables. So basically, I eat meat. And Butcher Box supplies me with everything I need. I'm kidding. I eat some vegetables and some fruit every once in a while. But Butcher Box, the food is literally to die for. And these animals they sacrifice for you. Grass-fed, grass-finished beef. Chickens, organic, free-ranging. They're just out there doing their thing, right? Just hanging out like hippie chickens, right? You've got the best pork around. When you eat the pork chop, I'm telling you, get the Butcher Box. Try the pork chop. I'm always amazed because you can cut it with a spoon. It is so easy and it's amazing. Less than $6 a meal. A month's worth of food, $6 a meal. Best meat you're ever going to eat. Premium, to say the least. High-quality cuts. Absolutely. You're not going to find this anywhere else. And for my listeners right now, you go to butcherbox.com/Chad. You're going to save $40. Plus, they've got a sweetener. $20 off the first box, $20 off the second box, and they're going to throw in free bacon. Boo! What? Oh, yeah. You're going to love all of it. Every bite. You're going to think, Chad told me to get this. Chad's a good guy. Go to butcherbox.com/Chad, butcherbox.com/Chad, butcherbox.com/Chad. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson, Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
People are texting in saying, Chad, even Fox is saying. I'm not saying Trump hasn't done something, right? I'm not saying. I mean, right now they're looking at his $107 million that they raised in donations for the inauguration. And did they exchange access to the president for money? It's possible. They're coming. They're coming. I'm not saying they're not coming. I'm not saying he did something. I'm not saying he didn't do anything. Everybody wants the answer now. They don't want to let it play out. They want Christmas to be today, not the 25th. Doesn't work that way. It's going to play itself out. We may get there and say, wow, this guy is guilty as an SOB. He's going to, he's out. He's out. He's gone. He's done as president. It's a possibility. Not saying it's not. I'm also not saying that the opposite may not happen. Then we go, well, there were some people that are around him that kind of tried to better their position in life. They played a game. They got in over their head, and they got caught, and they're popped. We don't know. We're going to let it play out. That's what I do. I know everybody else wants the answer now because we live in a world of immediacy. We need it now. This is when we need it now. Not 5 minutes from now, not 25 minutes from now, not 2 weeks from now, not 2 months from now, not 2 years from now. I need it now. Right now. Give it to me. Now. What's the answer? What is it? Is he guilty? Is he guilty? Is he guilty? We'll find out. I think this thing with the payoff potentially has some serious issues that he's going to be facing. Now, is it Russia? No. Still issues. Does it make it right? No. Because you did something wrong. People are saying he was in the room when all of the stuff was talked about. Now you've got this hanging over his head with the federal investigations are starting to take a peek at what's going on with his inauguration. So the feds are looking at that. Were people paying big money to court access and potential favor? Interesting. We will find out. But are we going to find everything out today? So many of you want him either exonerated or found guilty immediately. It doesn't work that way. There is a process. And the process will play itself out in due time. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. And, man, I have an urban word for you today that really describes what I see, politics, and the world we live in right now. Here's your urban word of the day.
It's time for the urban word of the day, fam.
What? Right now?
Time to get a little more hip on the streets.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
Urban word of the day.
Goat rodeo. Goat rodeo. Right? We're in a goat rodeo right now. We've got a chaotic situation with people running around with their hair on fire, screaming the world's coming to an end, and just doing so many insane things. And the reality, it looks like a goat rodeo. None of that stuff's happening. But from the outside looking in, it feels like maybe there's a potential goat rodeo going on, and I kind of feel that way. I do. Goat rodeo, your urban word of the day.
Thank you for saying that in dated urban slang so that I'll understand you. That there was the urban word of the day. We damn stretched your cranium.
Yes.
To say that our politics is not healthy is somewhat of an understatement.
Jeff Flake said goodbye today. He had some funny things to say. He had some stuff that was very interesting to say as well about the institutions that he sees out there and the way that we're heading in our political world.
As I stand here today, I am optimistic about the future. But my optimism is due more to the country that my parents gave to me than is due to the present condition of our civic life. We are, of course, testing the institution of American liberty in ways that none of us ever imagined we would, and in ways that we probably never should again.
Oh. He just sounds so sad. If Eeyore was a politician, he feels a little bit like that. I think he woke up one day and go, I don't like who I've become. I just feel, ugh. I'm not going to win, and I don't like who I've become. Jeff Flake saying goodbye. Very interesting. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Love hearing from you. We're going to touch on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Somebody got left out again, and I'm kicking up a storm. That's what I'm doing. But first, let's talk a little holiday cheer in the tech world. What are the big games out there, and what can we look forward to next year tech-wise? It's going to be, so amazing. WherePlay's very own Paul Limon joins us to talk a little tech on this Tech Thursday. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Christmas is not too far away. People are looking around, still trying to figure out what to get their kids. Technology is always a big thing. Games are a huge thing. Joining us now is a man who's a game machine and somebody who has his eye and his pulse on the actual world of technology like nobody else. Paul Limon from WherePlay. And Paul, let's talk first and foremost. There are some games out there, and people are still looking around to get kids games. And you've got 3 sets of games here. First, for the little kids or the younger ones who aren't really ready to ratchet it up with violence.
Which is a great place to start. And this game is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So it takes all the characters from Zelda to Pokemon characters and lets them get in an arena and punch each other to see who wins. So it's more cartoony violence than any actual violence. And it's played on a Nintendo Switch, which is an amazing little system that a kid can bring with them wherever they go. So if you're on the way on a family trip or he's in the backseat of a car, you can play these games just sitting there at a restaurant or anywhere. So it's a step up from a mobile game, and it is an amazing game that brings all these really cool characters together, and it's multiplayer. So if you have more than one kid, they can all play together, and they can be like Pikachu fighting, Zelda or something like that.
Who's the most popular of single characters out there in the world of video games across the board, from old to young? Which is the most? Is Mario the most popular?
Mario's
of
the
all
most
time?
recognized character now, just under Mickey Mouse. Everywhere in the world, people know who Mario is.
There are kids in Yemen who are trying to figure out where their next meal is and hoping they don't get bombed at night. and they know who Super Mario is. That's
they know
just
who Super Mario is. They may not have plumbing, but they know a plumber. So that's
and his name is Mario. All right, from there we move to the teenage. The 12 to 20 something kind of thing, 15. Because really, once you get to the 20 something, they're playing other games. But what are the hot things out there?
These are still games I was picking because they're fighting games, but they're not violent. There's no blood and guts, nothing, that kind of violence. Marvel Spider-Man for the PS4 is an amazing game. You have all of New York City, and you play Spider-Man. And you can swing through New York City, catching criminals, going on quests, working with, sidekicks. It allows you to really feel what it's like to be Spider-Man in a game that'll last, depending on how you play, between 20 and 35 hours of you exploring what it's like to have superpowers and save New York City from all kinds of problems and villains. It's a great game.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, what are you playing that on?
That's a PS4 game. So unfortunately, you can't play on PC or Xbox. The Xbox game that for this same age group would be Monster Hunter World. And again, it's another. It's simple. It's self-explanatory. You become an adventurer that gets dropped in the world, and you have to hunt down a bunch of monsters. So it's more of a medieval game. It's incredibly fun. There's everything from dragons to crazy monsters you've never heard of before. And you have to go out in teams. Again, this can be a multiplayer game or a single-player game and hunt down these monsters and defeat them. And then you come back and get better things to hunt bigger and badder monsters. And these monsters can get giant. Cool. They can start from really small to get the size of Godzilla.
That's cool. I like that. See, that sounds like fun. That sounds like something I would be awful at, but I would play it because, well, I'm awful at all these games, but I think we know that. And I've always told everybody my story about Gun when I got that for Christmas, and I couldn't get him to get over the rock, and I took it back the next day because after 3 hours of Chris Christopherson saying, "Come on, Cole," I was like, I quit. I'm awful at games. I give up. Talking to Paul Limon, our tech guru here, as we talk about Christmas time and what to get those hard to find for kids, in particular usually boys, but girls play these games as well. Now we move to the bigger kids, the kid at heart for all of us, and these are the games that are rated M for mature. Let's start first with God of War.
God of War is just an amazing game. It takes a mythological premise of the God of War, Kratos, and it gives you a storyline of him raising his son. You fight giant beasts. You explore a crazy, amazing world. It's incredibly detailed. The graphics are amazing. And the storyline in this is amazing. So even if you're not a hardcore gamer, this allows you to play through an epic story as well as have control of the combat situations and the choices and what you do in it. So this game has been just super highly rated because it is just one of those, it's a story. It's more like playing through a movie than any game's been in a long time.
How important for gamers, because you, of course, being one of the first employees at Blizzard, you created the StarCraft, the Warcraft, and Diablo and all those games that you were out there creating. So how important is a game as far as the story goes in the game playing? Because for some people, they just want to play the game, right? But for some, I'm assuming that story's important.
Story's starting to become super important. So, for example, the Spider-Man game that we talked about has a really good story. It's like playing a Marvel movie because you're Spider-Man, and they pull things from the Marvel movies and allows you to really immerse yourself into that character. God of War is a much more hardcore story, but it's the reason why you want to play to that next level. It's not just I want to achieve a high score or I want to defeat this creature. It's I want to know what happens next to these people. What is going to be this next arc in their story? And I want to see how it ends. I want to see the conclusion. It's becoming really cool.
Very cool. Then we move to probably the hottest game this year. For all the talk of all of the other stuff, PUBG and Fortnite and everything, if you're going to play in a game that everybody I hear talk about in some way, shape, or form is one of those games where it's either first on everybody's list that they're playing or second, but it's on their list, and that's Red Dead Redemption 2.
Basically, it's if you ever saw the series Westworld, it's like you got the chance to go into the Wild West. You can interact with every character in the world. You can run around, you can get a horse, you can ride the horse and just go where you want. As you go through this world, you find quests and adventures and things to happen and things to do, whether it's robbing a train or saving the town. So your actions can turn you into a villain or into, a white hat, a good guy type of gunslinger. And it has an amazing story and, multiple stories. It has all these stories you explore because it's an open world game. It is like living a Western. It's like a little bit of traveling back in time, and they've really done an amazing thing by letting you interact with every character in the game. You can even pet a dog.
Yeah, and I hear there's some stuff you could do. Like, I mean, I've heard just some of the crazy stuff you could do. Like, hey, you want to feed somebody to an alligator? Here you go. Like, there's just
these aren't the kids' games.
These are not games. The kids' game. There are blood, there are guts, there is nastiness. But everybody I know that has played it said it is amazing, and it is just so vast that's the thing that, like you just said, it's open world. It's there. It feels like it's a never-ending kind of story.
And it really is fun to play the games where you get into a world, and I can make all these choices, and it affects my world. People in the town can be afraid of me because I've been robbing banks and, doing heists, or they might be happy because I've saved them from bandits. So it is really, if you're going to get something and you're old enough and you're willing to understand it's full of all kinds of horrible things too, it is an amazing game.
Amazing game. Paul Limon, our tech guru. All right, let's move away from there and let's move to 2019. Couple things to watch. First and foremost, blockchain. Explain to everybody what blockchain is, because people hear it, but they have no idea what it is.
It was started in order to be able to create new monetary systems, because what it does is it's like a ledger, and it lets you know that a transaction actually happened and it's secure. So it was great for money, but they realized that that's not the best real use for it. The real use for it is the fact that it can make things really secure. So just like if I had a piece of paper and a ledger saying that, I exchanged money back and forth with you, I can say, this is my personal privacy. This is my details about me. These details cannot be given out to anybody else because now it is controlled through my blockchain interface. That's the next steps they're building from it. And that's the stuff that I think is really impactful for all of us, because everybody's worried about what's happening with all the information Google, Facebook, Apple know about me. This is going to help us kind of secure that information, where the only time people can access our information is when we really want them to.
That's going to be huge. That's going to be absolutely huge. And then we move from there to something that should excite everybody. And I know I'm getting excited about it. So if you love your phone, and many people do, we're going to be heading where next year? 5G?
5G networks. So think of your phones becoming 150 to 200 times faster. So it's going to open up an amazing new world of Netflix that streams immediately, for example. And you could stream multiple Netflix shows. If you're a gamer, you're streaming the games. So the graphics and look of a game you'd see on a console can be happening on your phone. So I could be playing Fortnite with hundreds of people on my phone. Or I could be playing all kinds of new experiences that they're now realizing they can do, because this network is so fast, and it started rolling out next year. It's so fast that people are figuring out what can be done on it. And that's why it's exciting. So
the network will take us to the new technology. The network will take us to new technology.
New things that people are like, oh, wow, because it's so fast, I can do, and they're going to discover new things. Now I can do this. Now I can do that. And trust me, anytime you try and load a web page, even sometimes on your phone, if you're on an LTE network or you're not on 4G, it's painfully slow now because we're used to broadband. Well, this will be faster than anything you have at home.
That's huge. That's huge. So who's rolling it out first?
Verizon started. Well, Verizon's going to do, I think, the first ones in California, and then it's going to start slowly branching out throughout the country. It's the limitations of the fact that the cell sites, they're going to have to be more of them because they don't transmit as far as our traditional cell sites. But you can have, in the size of about a Central Park area, you can have 1 million people on one cell site as opposed to maybe about 1,000 or a couple thousand. Wow. So it's a brand new, amazing technology, and we're going to start seeing it, like I said, in 2019.
Incredible. Paul Limon is his name. He is CEO and creative genius over there at Where Play. All kinds of games and fun you guys are doing there. Appreciate you coming on. We'll talk to you at the first of the year. Merry Christmas, my man.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. Man, 5G. Is that a crazy, Phil? Do you know how fast porn can be now, Phil?
I remember when I thought a 56K modem was the best it was going to get.
That was it. There's no more buffering now. No, kids. No more buffering. No. On Pornhub yesterday, they say we're on there for 10 minutes. You could be on for 4 minutes and be done. You're awful. You're awful. Red Dead Redemption, by the way. There's one of those things, because it's a Western. I love Westerns. I would think to myself, I might want to get that. Then I always go back to that horrible incident where I got gunned. I was super excited about it. It was like the only present I wanted that year. And I remember I got golf clubs, I got all this stuff, and it was great. And all I wanted was gun. And I was so awful at it. And you guys have no idea. When we're 10 seconds away from a break, Phil will whisper in my ear, "Come on, Cole." And that's all I hear. It's just awful. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. AMAC is amazing. AMAC.us/Chad. You want to sign up for something that is going to benefit you like you could not believe, with things like travel, retail, restaurant, hotel discounts? Boom. That's what AMAC's going to do for you, and they're going to do it for free. Sign up for free today. 1 year free. It is on me. AMAC.us/Chad. They are incredible at what they do. Not only do they give you all these benefits and help you with so many things, from Medicare, open enrollment to God knows whatever else that's out. They have so much out there. When I go to their site, it's incredible. They're also going to go out there and politically, they're going to fight and advocate for you for common sense immigration reform, Social Security reform, things of that nature. They work it all for you. They are the alternative, the conservative alternative to ARP. What are you waiting for? Join for free today. AMAC.us/Chad. That's AMAC.us/Chad. It's 1 year free. It's on me. AMAC.us/Chad. Join right now. AMAC.us/Chad. AMAC is better for you, better for America. The Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
Got a poll question up. Do you think the government should regulate speech? Ted Lieu, you said, yeah, I'd love to be able to do it. I can't because that pesky First Amendment. Somebody tweeted in and said, speech isn't truly free. Have you heard of libel, slander, plagiarism, false advertising, harassment, threatening, or intimidation? You can't yell fire in a crowded theater, right? You can't. But slander, plagiarism, libel, you're lying. It's a different thing. And it's not criminal. It's civil. He goes, I know you've heard of the SEC regulations. I go, yeah, FCC has their regulations, but I can go to satellite. Should they be able to regulate satellite? What if I did a podcast? Should they be able to regulate podcast? There are rules within businesses. If Google doesn't want you, if they want to control some of the things you say on their platforms, whatever platforms they have, like they want you to search here, do this, whatever it is, with Apple, any of these companies, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, that's their business to do so. But if I say it inside my house or I go outside and say it, right? You should be able to regulate that? What if I'm on stage and I say something and somebody doesn't like it because they took it in a certain way? You should be able to regulate that? I don't know what it is for the excitement of people who want to give up some of their freedoms to a government that already overreaches. These are the same people that say all women should have choice. And I would come back and say, I got no problem with that. And then so, but the reality is government tells us all the time the things we can and can't do with our body. No, they don't. Really? Can you just do cocaine? Well, no. Can you no, what? No? Can you sell your kidney? Well, no, so what is it? I mean, so they kind of do. right? And you want to give up more of that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at me. I love hearing stories like this. Sometimes government overreaches, and you just got to say, forget about it.
Everybody driving along Route 128 through Westford, Vermont can see the giant sculpture. It sits on top of a 16-foot pole. It's a 700-pound fist carved of wood with the middle finger sticking straight up, and it's illuminated by 2 floodlights. The sculpture's on Ted Pelkey's property, which is where he wanted to operate a truck repair business, but for 10 years he's been told by town leaders he can't get a permit for that. So he finally told them, you don't want to look at the trucks? Look at this. And now they must, because those same town officials say under their own ordinances that sculpture is considered public art.
Sometimes when government won't let you, because they love to not let you do stuff, you got to say, you. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. What do you think? Are you cool with government regulating in some way, shape, or form? Should we have panels? Should we go state by state? Or did our founding fathers get it right? And the protections that we have are amazing. And they're not protections that people think. They're a protection from the government itself and the overreach of the government. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Michael Cohen pled guilty to something that's not even a crime. Wait a minute. These are campaign. Nobody, except for me, would be looked at like this. Nobody. What about Congress where they have a slush fund?
What about the fact they're looking at your inauguration now? Record haul, $107 million. Did people pay to get access? Everybody pays to get access. Let's be real. That's what donors are. But did they get special access? Now the feds are looking into that. Then you've got a situation where your old pal over there, David Pecker, that's really his name. I didn't make it up. All right, geez. Well, he's decided, hey, guess what? Maybe we're going to come talk. If you don't know who he is, he owns this thing called The Enquirer.
We learned right after Michael Cohen was sentenced that a couple of months ago, the publisher of the National Enquirer entered into a non-prosecution agreement with federal prosecutors, admitting that they bought the rights to Karen McDougal, the former Playboy playmate who alleged an affair with Donald Trump. They bought the rights to her story in order to bury it. AMI, the parent company of the National Enquirer, admitted that they did that to benefit the Trump campaign, and the court papers noted that it was done in coordination with members of the Trump campaign.
That's not good. That's not good, and details are coming out that he was actually in the room when some of those things were directed. That's not good. Now, is it criminal? That will be decided. That will be decided. But let's be real, for a lot of people out there, they don't care if it's criminal if it gets him gone. If it gets him gone. This is Sean Wu, legal guy on CNN. Listen to him talk about the politics of all of this.
Does this mean that this president is likely to be indicted on this charge when he leaves office?
Well, my opinion is there's enough to indict him there. I mean, they have accused him of participating in this. I think the question of whether they would indict him when he leaves office, to some extent, still will be a political question at that time. I mean, if he were to resign or be impeached while he's in office, I think there won't be much energy behind pursuing him afterwards.
Okay, so wait a minute here. There's not going to be a pursuit, if decides to resign or is impeached, leaves, he's no longer there, that's when they'll run out of steam? When they chase him out of office is when he's gone? Look, if he's done something wrong, he needs to go. Period. Case closed. I don't care what it is. But we've got to let everything play itself out. People want it solved now. They're like, can we solve this today? Can we solve this now? Is this something we could solve now? How about we just call him guilty and we can get him to go away, and then we won't pursue any more of this and we'll just let it go away and die. And so why can't we just do that? Because people want the answer now. On the other side, people are like, oh, he's innocent. He's innocent. It's a witch hunt. 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 I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I will tell you, eventually we'll know, maybe not all, but a good portion of it, and that will come in due time. In due time. I'm over it. I really am. I'm exhausted from it all. He's exhausting. The media coverage, the scrutiny of it all is exhausting. He got one thing right. They didn't scrutinize anybody else like they did this guy, right? And I'm not just talking about whether or not the feds look into it and stuff like that. I'm talking about the media in general. It is nonstop. I work in it. It is nonstop. Nonstop. So he is right about that. Now, what any of this means in the long run is maybe he is guilty of something. And maybe he'll have to step down. Maybe he's innocent of everything, and he'll have the ha-ha, and he can stand on the moral mountain and look down and say, I told you guys. I told you guys. I told every one of you that I was innocent. And you didn't believe me. It's possible. It is possible. But we shall see. And the Cohen thing, and now with this, could it be campaign? But now, that's not Russia. I think we can all, I understand that paying off Karen McTee, she is smoking hot. Can we just, let's talk about happier things. Like, I like Melania. She's beautiful. But I like Karen McDougal. I got to be honest with you. I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to throw it. And I got a little blowback earlier today from that, but I'm okay with it. I can take it. I can take it. What they're saying now is he was in the room when all of this stuff went on. And, of course, he's denying it. We'll find out. We will find out in due time. But the people out there that want it settled tonight, it's not going to be. And you want it settled tomorrow, it's not going to be. It's going to play itself out in the course that's out there, however long that is. 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months. It's going to play itself out along the way. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Guess what, kids? Got a little rock and roll today.
Def Leppard was the top vote getter voted on by the fans, and they put out a video thanking fans for helping them get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
We will be there in March because you voted for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Stevie Nicks, now a two-time inductee, tweeted that being recognized for her solo work was a glorious feeling. Meanwhile, in a statement, Radiohead said they were surprised to learn they were getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Janet Jackson tweeted, "We did it, you guys."
We did it, guys. Now, she is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I want a ruling, and maybe you guys can help me out with this. I want a ruling. So, is she classically rock and roll? No, but there's Madonna in there. There's some, you've got R&B artists, you got rap artists, they're in there, and I have zero problem with that, because I think rock and roll is just essentially modern music is what it is. But that doesn't, like, hey, let's go to the Modern Music Hall of Fame. Just doesn't sound good. So underneath the umbrella is everything else. So I've got no problem that she's in there, right? I mean, if you listen to her, okay, so here we go. So here is, let's just listen to a little bit of this. So here is this great band. Def Leppard. I love the Lep, right? I absolutely love the leopard. You got Joe Elliott and the guys just railing away there. Yeah, so that's rock and roll, right? I got no problem with that rock and roll. That is rock and roll. Absolutely. This? Now it's pop. All right? And again, it's under the umbrella of rock and roll. Got no problem with that. Here's my issue. Whitney Houston has sold 200 million albums, and I'm no Whitney. I'm not here to talk about, like, oh, my God, I'm an apologist for any of that stuff. She lost her mind. She got married to Bobby Brown. She went off the deep end and all of this. But she has sold 200 million albums. She's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That I find bizarre. Like, if we're going to put people in, and it's not like they couldn't have. I think she's missed out on like 10 or 15 years where she's not even getting any kind of votes. And I just found that weird. But it's so subjective, right? Like, that's the thing. It's subjective. It's like baseball's Hall of Fame. Why does this guy get in? This guy doesn't. Why is it that Ken Griffey Jr., who is arguably one of the greatest baseball players of all time, easily a first ballot Hall of Famer, but people will decide to leave them off their ballot because nobody should be a first round, first ballot Hall of Fame? It's just a bunch of crap. It's subjective. It is. But I just wonder, if we're going to put one in, why not the other? If we're going to put Janet Jackson in, and everybody looks at her and she's the diva in the whole 9 yards, that Whitney was the diva. And 200 million albums? I mean, you're selling 200 million to anything, you doing all right. You doing all right. Speaking of a woman that did get in. Yeah, the witch, Stevie Nicks. So she's the first woman to be inducted 2 times. So she gets in as Stevie Nicks in her solo, and she's also in with Fleetwood Mac. And there's a few people that are inducted twice, and one person is inducted 3 times, and that would be Eric Clapton with Cream, the Yardbirds, and Eric Clapton. I wonder if you have to go back all 3 times, or can you just mail it to me? The Cure got in as well. Depeche Mode's not in. I like Depeche Mode. I'm a Depeche Mode kind of guy. I just got to say that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. We have a question of the day based on this yesterday from Ted Lieu, a Democrat from California.
I would love to be able to regulate the content of speech. The First Amendment prevents me from doing so. The
First Amendment, the pesky First Amendment, is stopping him from doing so. He went on later on to say, well, the government should be involved in any of this stuff, and we'd like to see these companies actually take a more proactive stance on hate speech. But what is hate speech? Because what you consider hate speech, somebody else may consider just a conversation. And you've taken it in a way where you think they're being hateful. And I just, what is a joke to one person and to several people? Other people may say you're marginalizing, it's hateful, the whole 9 yards. So what is it? Would you like the government to step in? I'm curious. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. I'm going to sleep well tonight. Had a long week doing lots of stuff, traveling around. I'll be on the road again tonight. I've got my Go Anywhere pillow from My Pillow, and I am going to be out like a light. Don't lose any more sleep. And guess what? This time of year is a perfect time to grab what My Pillow is offering you. 4 pillows, 2 premium pillows, 2 Go Anywhere pillows, half the price, free shipping. And here's the great thing. Money back guarantee until March 1st, 2019. Not going to find a deal like this anywhere else. Machine washable and dryable cotton, made right here in the good old USA. It is amazing what they're doing. You can order yourself this amazing deal, hand some out as gifts, and keep one for yourself. It is a win-win-win. Again, 4 pillows, 2 premiums, 2 Go Anywheres, half the price, free shipping, money back guarantee until March 1st, 2019. Go to mypillow.com, use promo code CHAD, or call 983-4975 or mypillow.com. Remember to use promo code Chad. mypillow.com, promo code Chad. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, ChadBenson. CNN political analyst Steve Cortez is going to join us at the bottom of the hour, talk about all of the stuff surrounding Trump and the craziness. He's a big advocate for Trump. He really, really is. Worked on the campaign and the whole 9 yards. I want to get his take on everything. He'll talk to us at the bottom of the hour. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Welcome to the Alt-Middle, where solutions live and ignorance dies. The Chad Benson Show.
Procrastinators, Amazon says it's got your back. The online retail giant is extending the free shipping deadline for all shoppers who want to get items delivered in time for Christmas to December 18th. It's also expanding Prime free same-day and one-day shipping services to more than 10,000 cities and towns across the country.
Yeah, so those of you who are late shoppers, raise your hand. Oh, my hand's up. You know what? I like to shop, and the funny thing is you ever buy stuff early and then you think, oh, man, I think they'd like this better. And you don't return the other thing. And you're like, oh, and yeah, I'm a late shopper, but it's Amazon. They got your back. I mean, Bezos does. The other people, they really have your back because you are going to work them to death. That's their goal. That should be their slogan. Amazon. Work here until you die, which will be anytime soon. They should just have a big pit. And then when you die on Watts, they just throw you over. Chad, that's not. Well, that's what I hear, right? Like, that's how horrible the conditions are. I'm always amazed that you don't understand how horrible these conditions are. Is it no other job? You cannot find another job. Does Amazon hold you hostage? Does Walmart hold you hostage? Do these companies take out guns and say, you are going to work here or else? Well, sometimes that's the only job I can get. Why? It's always the why question. Like, I just want to hear the explanation of the whole thing. I do. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at me. I do love hearing from you. And a lot of people are texting in about Trump. He's guilty. All these people who are protecting him. I think he's done some stuff that he's done wrong. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what it is, though. And I do remember that this was all about Russia and he stole the election, but I don't think that to be true. I don't think he stole the election. And for some people, they're still reliving that night in November where their souls were crushed, right? But did he do some unscrupulous things? Yes. And for those of you also, like, this is my shocked face to find out that he had an extramarital affair with playmates and porn actresses and things of that nature and paid them go away. That was my surprise face. That's what I'm saying is I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Everybody's known who this guy's been since the 70s and 80s. It's not hard to follow his life. He's lived in the back pages and the society pages of New York for years and years. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. But I'm interested to find out what's happened with some of the stuff, and I think it's fair that we do. I think as Americans, we deserve to know the truth, and if there's been some wrongdoing, he's got to go. He does. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter, got a poll question up. Should government regulate free speech? Should they? Some of the hate speech out there, should they regulate some of that? Steve Cortez, CNN political analyst, he joins us. He worked on the Trump campaign, and he'll talk about what's going out there in Trump world. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
independent in thoughts, and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
It has been, it's been crazy since the day he got into office, long before that, and the craziness continues. Yesterday, Cohen going to jail for 3 years. Now you've got the immunity thing with the Enquirer and Catherine McDougal joining us now as somebody's going to help make heads and tails of all this. CNN political commentator Steve Cortez. And Steve, the whole thing with Cohen, that's all on him. He had money that he hid. That's on him. I'm interested in this, though, when it comes to the whole thing with the Enquirer and some of this stuff, because I think there may be something here that may be an issue for the president.
No, listen, I tend to agree. I mean, I don't know that, but my intuition tells me this is a much stickier situation. And I say that as an ardent supporter of the president, somebody who worked hard on his election and hopes to work hard on his reelection. And I agree with you. The Cohen thing, I think, is easily dismissed. I think by any rational person, certainly by those of us who support the president's agenda. I mean, I think Cohen had many reasons to lie. He's shown himself to be a scoundrel in all manner of ways to a lot of folks, lying to Congress, lying to Mueller's office, I think betraying the president by secretly taping him when he was his attorney. Who does that to their own client? So I think that's easily dismissed. I will concede to you, though, the AMI situation, the National Enquirer and Pecker, that to me is more difficult, because they were not, as far as we know, over a barrel the way Cohen was, right? And so I think Cohen almost had to plead guilty to campaign finance violations, even though I don't believe they were violations personally, okay? But he had every reason to plead to get his sentence down for some very serious crimes unrelated to Trump. In the case of AMI and Pecker, as far as we know, that's not the case, right? They didn't seem to be under the gun for other crimes. Again, I keep saying as far as we know, but that is important. We have not seen all the cards. But what we've seen so far from Mueller, that seems to be the case. So why then did AMI concede that there was a crime here, that there was not just a campaign finance violation on a technical civil level, but on a criminal level? Those questions need to be answered. And I will tell you, as a Trump guy, I'm a little worried about that. And I've not been worried at all about anything until now. This has me worried, and we need to see the facts on the table. And by the way, I think as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. Look, you know what? I tell everybody, if Trump's done something wrong here, it needs to be dealt with. Period. Case closed. I don't care who the president is or isn't or whatever. It needs to be dealt with. And AMI came forward. They've been offered immunity. They're pretty forthcoming in this. And this to me smells a little weird. Now, this is obviously far from the Russia, which this started with. But the reality is, Steve, there is, I think, some issues here that could bite him in the butt. And of course, they're pointing out, well, look what happened with John Edwards and all of these things. Well, John Edwards ended up going to trial. He may have gotten off, but he ended up going to trial, and he got off in more ways than one. Yeah. But the reality is, they're trying to point to that. But this, I think, could follow him big time.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I'm ready to say big time, but I think it can be problematic. Again, I agree with you. And I often get accused on CNN of being a Trump sycophant, okay? And I'm not. I'm a huge supporter. I think he's done amazing things for this country. I think this Mueller inquest needs to wrap up. But I'm not a sycophant. I'm an American before I'm a Trump supporter. And I will say, as an American, I have no worries about the Cohen thing. I think that's a canard. I don't think there's any culpability for Trump there. As a matter of fact, the opposite. I think he's being, in many ways, used by that whole imbroglio. The AMI thing seems different. Again, we don't know enough to say anything conclusive. But I agree with you. It smells bad, and the people deserve to know the truth. Now, listen. If the worst truth here is, if the worst of it is there was a campaign finance violation because he wanted to cover up an affair, I don't think that's anything remotely approaching removed from office kind of, crime. But it would be embarrassing, clearly, for the president. It would be a problem. It would be something that we would have to deal with. Now, it's also not even close to a treasonous alliance with Russia, right? I mean, which is how this whole thing started and where the liberals want this whole inquest to go, all right? So to me, but could AMI become the blue dress of this saga? To bring it back to Clinton in 1998. It's possible. And again, it has me worried, and I've not been worried very often during this whole thing. But the fact that Pecker, who I think is a really upstanding guy, people may laugh at that because he runs a tabloid, but I think he's an upstanding guy. I think he's an incredible businessman. I think he's a great friend of the president. I don't think he's compromised in any way. It doesn't appear the way Cohen is and was. So the fact that he took the deal and is cooperating and his company is, Yeah, to be quite honest, it's worrisome to me. But again, let's just get it out there. Transparency solves these problems. Let's get it in the sunlight. And I say that to Mueller. I said this last time on CNN to channel the fabulous Thunderbirds. Wrap it up. It's time to put the cards on the table for the American people.
I'm talking to Steve Cortez, CNN political commentator. Another one of your co-hosts, CNN legal analyst Sean Wu, said, look, if all of this stuff is the way it is, and there's some issues here with campaign financing and some of these other things, but Trump ends up leaving office, gets, either doesn't run for re-election or whatever, that they probably won't even try to chase these down as something they want to prosecute. And it makes me laugh because basically what you're saying is, we want you gone, and if you go, we'll leave you alone. If you don't, we'll hound you. Even if you committed a crime and you're gone, we're still going to leave you alone. We just really want you gone.
Right. No, and listen, and I think that too. Look, I believe that the whole Mueller probe, I think, was really born, was born in illegitimacy, as it were, because it was the genesis of it was Comey, by his own admission, purposely leaking information he shouldn't have leaked so that he could trigger a special counsel. And then what happened from there? An investigation in search of a crime. I think that is utterly un-American. It's unjust. It's illogical. It's not what we do in this country. If you were to look long and hard enough at any person, particularly somebody or an organization that is complicated, and certainly the Trump world is incredibly complicated, you eventually will come to something. And perhaps with AMI, they're getting to something that has nothing to do with Russia, which was supposedly the motivation for this entire probe, was to see was our national security at risk. And by the way, as an American, I want that investigated. Absolutely. Like, for instance, it's not really related, but similar theme, that Maria Butina, who apparently infiltrated the NRA, a group I happen to really support. Now, if she was working at the behest of Russian intelligence and she was able to influence our election with Russian money, to gather intelligence, if she was able to, again, not that the NRA in any way was cooperating with that, but if they were duped, for instance, that's something we need to know as Americans. Like, that's very real. That absolutely should be investigated. This is a very different story. Now we've gone from, was there coordination with Russia, collusion with Russia, to let's investigate every single, let's look at every hair on Donald Trump's head, his very famous hair, and let's see what we can uncover. And I dismiss that premise as being just, as being right. But regardless, we've gone so far down that road now. At this point, listen, I would have, and I told the president this, I think he should have fired Mueller a heck of a long time ago. It's way too late for that now. I think from here, what can we do? Instead of crying over spilled milk, from here, Mueller has to be, if he won't do it on his own, I think he needs to be directed, hopefully by the new Attorney General, by Barr, who I hope gets confirmed soon, that this probe needs to be wrapped up. We have been doing this for 2 years. It's time for finality. And if there's something serious regarding AMI that is incriminating for the president, I don't like it because I love the president, but so be it. Let's put that out there. Again, I'm an American before I'm a Trumpian. Let's get that out there and let's deal with it. And is it something so serious that the president, needs to face impeachment? I certainly don't think so. I doubt it. But again, none of us really know. So in a lot of ways, like, we're boxing ghosts, right? And I think those of us who are biased in favor of the president tend to give him the benefit of the doubt. Most of mainstream media is the exact opposite. As you said, they want him gone anyway. They still can't believe he won in 2016. And they would remove him almost by any means necessary. They would pay almost any price to remove him. I mean, such as their derangement. And that's not healthy for our country. So to me, it's transparency. Sunlight will disinfect this whole process. I think the president on his side should declassify documents as much as he possibly can. On Mueller's side, put the facts on the table and then let the people judge.
Talking to Steve Cortez, CNN political commentator. Last question. Appreciate you coming on. I've always said this, when people say, well, look at all the ties to Russia, all of these people that are being indicted. I said, you know what? I look at D.C. like a dirty kitchen. When you turn the lights on, the cockroaches run everywhere, but you finally see them. I think if we spotlighted all of D.C. And we did a smell test, we'd find out that there is something rotten there across the board on both sides of the aisle. There's a lot of people that are nefarious, and their characters are suspect at best, both in politics and the hangers-on outside of politics around these people.
No, listen, absolutely. As bad as the swamp, we knew the swamp was bad in 2016. I mean, we ran largely on that theme in our campaign. It's way worse than I ever thought. I think it's worse than the president thought. And again, I'm fine with us shining a light on, if there's something either criminal or at least a civil violation in terms of FEC rules from the Trump campaign, I'm fine with shining a light on that. Let's get the facts out. But you know where else I'd like to shine a light is on the Obama DOJ, for example. I mean, if you want to talk about swamp operators manipulating the public's trust and using our national security apparatus to spy on an opposition campaign and then to try to delegitimize an incoming administration once Trump won. To me, those crimes are far worse, probably. Again, we don't know everything, but we know enough to know if you want to talk about something smelling bad, that makes anything at AMI, look like it's tiny compared to there. So I agree with you. The swamp is troublesome. It's deep. It's worse than we ever thought. And I'd like to see the light shine on that entire cast of characters: Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Page, all of them who I think deserve probably for some of them criminal violations and for all of them to at least live in disrepute for the way they abuse the public trust.
Interesting indeed. Always good to have you on, my man. CNN political commentator Steve Cortez. Look forward to talking to you soon. If we don't talk to you for the new year, have a great and a Merry Christmas and New Year, and we'll talk to you in 2019.
Thanks so much. Same to you.
Thanks. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. What I like about him is he's straightforward. He tells you who he is. He's a fan of Trump. He works with Trump. But he's also says, look, I'm an American first, and there's something there. There's something there. And he said, I'm worried a little bit about this. But you got to admit, we started one place, and we're ending up somewhere else. And while there might be a violation, and you got to look, the reality is this is why so many people said there should have been parameters on this investigation. It was about Russia and the election and all of that stuff. And now we're looking at paying off, adult film actresses and Playboy playmates. And by the way, Catherine McDougal, for those of you not, she is smoking hot. I look at her and I think, yeah, she gives Melania a run for the money. She does. Stormy, no. But Melania, yeah. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what? Say what? I love this. I do. I mean, sometimes you just get a story and you double, you triple check it. You look at it again and you say, is this real? Like, did this actually happen? And I don't know. I flew the other day on a Southwest flight. It was fine, right? It's a good thing. I love it. You get on there, you go. Flying any time of the year could be stressful. This time of year could be extra stressful. But I tell you what happened on this Southwest flight, I couldn't even... you had one job, right? Like, that's what you say to somebody. You say, you have a job? Yeah. And what is your job? Well, it's to take this from point A to point B. But instead, you didn't.
When Southwest Airlines Flight 3606 arrived in Seattle from Sacramento, somebody forgot to unload a human heart before the plane took off again for Dallas. Southwest says in a statement that there was a life-critical cargo shipment left on board. Once in the air and it became known the heart was still on the plane, the aircraft turned around back to Seattle. We now know the heart was heading to a tissue processor to recover valves to be used in future transplants and not to an urgent patient in need.
You had one job, Jim. Didn't have 10 jobs. We're not asking you to do 10 jobs. We're asking you to do the one job. Yeah, I forgot about that. Like, how does that happen? You get somewhere and you're like, you know what? I feel like I'm missing something. I was like, oh, that's right. The heart. Yeah, the heart. You're missing the heart. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at me. Love hearing from you. So, every year we get all the list out. We talk about all the stuff. Christmas time is here right now. We do love ourselves a little bit of Christmas. I think we all can agree on that. So we all watch Christmas movies. I watch a ton of Christmas movies, mostly those awful, sappy, horrible, yet fun Hallmark ones. I'm not going to lie to you. I do watch those. But in saying that, I watch a lot of other ones. But how do we look nationwide from place to place?
Welcome to the party, pal!
The question of whether Die Hard is or is not a Christmas movie may never be answered unless you live in one of 4 states.
idea. When you steal 600 million, they will find you unless they think you're already dead.
But folks in Wisconsin, Washington, Virginia, and Missouri say it absolutely is. That movie was downloaded more than any other Christmas flick, according to the website Streaming Observer.
So that is downloaded a ton. All right. So what about elsewhere in the country?
Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, and Ohio like Home Alone.
Okay, come and get me.
They like Home Alone. I liked Home Alone. It was okay. It was a good movie. When I look back on it, I thought, does it stand a test of time though? I think it kind of does. I don't know if we needed 12 of them now? I don't even know. But I love Die Hard, and I think it's a Christmas movie. I do. I think it's a Christmas movie.
In the Southeast, Gremlins is most popular this time of year. Massachusetts loves Love Actually.
Love is all around me. All around and me. So the thing.
I'm afraid you did it again, Bill.
I love that movie. Love Actually is a great movie. If you've not seen it, it's a romantic comedy. It's Christmas. It is really good. It's got a ton of stars, and it's a British movie. I think with a few Americans, smatter without, but it's got Liam Neeson. It's got a ton of stars in it. It is Hugh Grant's in it. I mean, it's a really, really good movie, and I do like that one. And then
Bad Santa, most popular in Nebraska, and in Kentucky, it's Elf.
Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Oh, Santa's coming to town. Woo! Now, Elf probably should go because of all of the, he sings that song that nobody wants to talk about, that it's cold outside one, the one that it's just a horrible song that should go away.
It's triggering to a lot of women.
That one. Yeah, it is. That should just go away, maybe. But it's an okay movie. I like Elf. The Ref. If you've never seen the movie The Ref, if you've never seen it, check it out. It is a great Christmas movie starring Dennis Leary and Kevin Spacey. I know it was, he's weird now in the whole 9 yards, but it was 91, 92. It's a great movie. If you've never seen it, check that out. It is an amazing movie. Asking the question of the day, should we regulate free speech? Ted Lieu, Democrat, congressional California member, said this yesterday.
I would love to be able to regulate the content of speech. The First Amendment prevents me from doing so.
Yeah, that's good. It's there for a reason. Should we have government step in? He went on later to say, now, probably government should step in, but we'd like to see these big corporations maybe take more of a proactive role in it. What do you think? Should we? And what is hate speech? What exactly is it? Because what it is for one person, it may be something completely different for another person. Who gets to draw up the rules? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Take the poll question there. It is the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent in thought and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
As I stand here today, I am optimistic about the future. But my optimism is due more to the country that my parents gave to me than is due to the present condition of our civic life. We are, of course, testing the institution of American liberty in ways that none of us ever imagined we would, and in ways that we probably never should again.
You know what's funny? That's Jeff Flake. He's saying his farewells as he is out, gone, finite, done. And he's talking about that, and some of those are shots at the president. Not a fan of the president, even though he voted with him on more than a few occasions. He's been a big critic of the president, right? You hear all the time the tyranny, the evil, all the things that the president does, all of this stuff, right? Because it's nonstop. The president's bad. He's a bad dude. He's a horrible human being. He's all of these things. It's like Nazi Germany. You hear all of this stuff, right? You hear all of these things all the time. And people attack him for it. And some of the stuff that comes at him, he absolutely deserves. Some of it's just insanity, Trump derangement syndrome. But only few people are talking about this. This is a Democrat from California, Ted Lieu, talking on CNN the day after, which was, I think it was yesterday morning, the day after Google was up there having to defend itself. And so, remember, Trump, tyranny, taking everything away, wants to, maybe relook at birthright citizenship, and he's a horrible human being, he's a racist, he's all of these things, he's destroying the fabric of America, and blah, 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 blah. This is a Democrat. Listen to what he says.
I would love to be able to regulate the content of speech. The First Amendment prevents me from doing so.
I would love to be super solid, be fantastic. If I could just do that, that'd be great. We're worried about Trump and Russia and this, that, and the other, and I want to know everything that's going on. If you've done something wrong, Trump, you got to go. But here's a Democrat saying, I would love to regulate. I would love to. It'd be great, wouldn't it? I mean, we could regulate it. We'd have like a panel, and we have a bunch of people, and that would be like, we could have a free speech federal agency who could decide what you could and couldn't say. And then if they didn't like it, somebody could bring some charges up against you, and you'd have to go stand in front of a judge to say if you say you had a bad joke, right? And 99 out of the 100 people liked it, but one person didn't, so they want to bring charges up against you, and you go in front of the joke judge. And they would decide. You'd get a fine. Well, it's hate speech is what they want to get rid of. Hate speech. Who gets to decide what hate is? Because in the day and age that we live now, it's not how it's meant, it's how it's taken. And in the day and age that we live now, a good majority of stuff that is considered hate speech isn't even said. It's tweeted, it's posted somewhere, it's taken out of context. You get nothing. You get no emotion out of it. Get no inflection out of it. You get nothing because it's a written word on something. And somebody can take it a certain way. But this is, again, a person who should be protecting, right? Our rights. Those amendments should be. For all the worry of Trump. And there is some stuff that I think he's got some issues that he's going to have to deal with. Most of them, I think, will be mostly political. Maybe criminal. You don't know. But for all of that, here's a guy who's looking at the amendment and go, yeah, I would like that.
I would love to be able to regulate the content of speech.
Yeah. Now, later on, he goes on to say, well, it's probably not a good idea that I do it. But maybe some of these other companies, you get what I'm saying here?
And that's simply a function of the First Amendment. But I think over the long run, it's better that government does not regulate the content of speech. I would urge these private sector companies to regulate it better themselves, but it's really nothing that I believe government can do. And so that's been my position all along.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to destroy his character, impugn him as an individual. I'm not trying to do any of those things. All right? People in California who Ted Lieu is, you guys understand. Some of you like him, some of you are like, ugh. But he said it, and that's weird. For all of the other stuff, again, with Trump, there is a lot of it. He's got some other issues today that he's going to have to deal with that I think are going to make some people go, including myself. But for all of those things, the reality is this guy's looking right at our amendment saying, I would love to, but that pesky thing right there, that piece of paper, that pesky little that pesky paper, you are stopping me from doing that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Speaking of Trump.
What sensational scoops might the National Enquirer have that are of interest to federal prosecutors?
They got O.J., they got Edwards, they got this. I mean, if that was the New York Times, they would have gotten Pulitzer Prizes for their reporting.
The publisher of Trump's tabloid, as it's been called, is Trump's friend David Pecker. In that plea deal just made public, AMI, the Enquirer's parent company, admits to paying $150,000 to former Playboy playmate Karen McDougal just 3 months before the election to kill her story about an alleged affair.
Yeah. And they've got immunity. And they've been kind of forward in this. And it will be interesting to see the way that this plays itself out. Because they're coming up forward and say, yeah, we did this right before the election. Is it a campaign finance law that they broke? Dan Abrams, Live PD, he kind of says, look, maybe, but.
Campaign finance laws are unique in the sense that they require you have to have known you were violating the law.
Oh, you have to know you were violating the law. You have to know that. And that means you have to prove that the person knew that they were violating the law, and that gives them some plausible deniability, and so they may be able to say, I didn't know. And you may have to go, yeah, well, it's hard to prove that he did. And I'm sure there's probably so many wacky campaign finance laws that are out there that you may actually, everybody may be at some point in time violating something and they just didn't even know they did it. But I find this to be very interesting. And the fact that the David Pecker and MI went there and they got immunity says that there may be something there. And that they said, look, we did pay for hush money. And on top of that, right? So on top of all of those things they're talking about, not only did they get immunity and say, yeah, we buried it, but
the supermarket tabloid was vicious about Trump's rivals. During the primaries, the Enquirer accused Ted Cruz's father of conspiring with Lee Harvey Oswald to assassinate JFK, and Trump gleefully seized on the story.
I have no idea whether it was right or not. They actually have a very good record of being right, but I have absolutely no idea.
It was not true, nor were any number of front-page exclamation points about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. So we'll see. We will see what takes place. But I don't know if there's this to me is more worrisome than any of the Russia stuff and the Cohen stuff. I think this to me is the stuff that's a little bit more worrisome if I'm in the Trump camp, because I just feel like there's some more there. It doesn't mean that he's going to be charged criminally. It doesn't mean that they're not. But it does mean that, you know what, him coming forward, David Pecker, and all of this stuff, that's an interesting thing to see what takes place here. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Now, Christmas is coming fast. We're 12 days away from Christmas. I'm still shopping. Many of you are still shopping. Amazon wants you to take a deep breath.
Procrastinators, Amazon says it's got your back. The online retail giant is extending the free shipping deadline for all shoppers who want to get items delivered in time for Christmas to December 18th. It's also expanding Prime free same-day and one-day shipping services to more than 10,000 cities and towns across the country.
Yeah, so you still have time to get out there, and some stuff's not going to arrive, and that's not always Amazon's fault. Like, you've got to always look when you're on Amazon, because even though they could fulfill it at that moment if they had it, sometimes the company you're ordering from, they're not going to get it there in time to Amazon to even get it to you, as you order stuff through there, or it's just, so it's frustrating. It is frustrating for a lot of people out there, because last year I had some issues, and you'd order something and you're waiting and it arrives 4 or 5 days later, and you're just like, oh, because there is that point, when you kids in the whole 9 yards, that you want it to be there on that day. Takes a little bit away from it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. You can tweet at us. So I'm traveling for the next few days, which means I'm not going to be on my Casper mattress, which means my body's going to be sore, and I know that. I do. I'm prepared. I love my mattress. I've slept so good. My body feels so good, and I know I'll be driving a lot tonight, on bad mattress tonight. The next couple of days I'm going to be on bad mattress, and it's just going to be my knees, my hip, my back are going to be sore. Casper's incredible. They let you try it at home for 100 nights. And if you don't like it, they're going to come pick the mattress up, refund your money, no questions asked. Who else does that? 35,000 5-star reviews on all of their products across Casper, Google, and Amazon. Pressure relief is perfect. The alignment is perfect. The night's rest for my body is perfect. Try it. Best way to do anything? Try it. 100 nights free, risk-free in your own home. They'll come pick it up, give you back your money if you don't like it. How do you get this? Simple and easy. Go to Casper.com, use my code CHAD, saves you $50 toward the purchase of selected mattresses. Casper.com, code CHAD, saving you $50 right there. Casper.com, code CHAD. Terms and conditions apply. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. ChadBenson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Take one giant step to the left.
Did you ever have anyone embarrass you like this?
One giant step to the right.
That's all that separates you from everything else that came from slime.
You are now in the alt-middle, where it's just right. Call if you get weird. This is the Chad Benson Show.
Now, at least Cohen will have plenty of friends there. He'll be in the prison's newly dedicated Trump administration wing. It'll be him, Paul Manafort, about 20 other guys to be named later. They're going to have a blast. They really are. Now, at the sentencing today, Cohen told the judge that he felt it was his duty to cover up Trump's dirty deeds, to which I would add, not well.
It means you weren't good at what you did there. That's what he's trying to say. Joking at. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Cohen, because you never know what's going to happen between now and March. You never know. If he spent 6 months in jail, that may be real. They may tell him he's going to spend the rest of his time under house arrest. You just don't know. And let's see if he has anything else up his sleeve as he goes right before he goes in. Just went up. Boom. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I was a Boy Scout. My son is one. My little brothers are. But I have gone to Scout meetings over the last couple of years, and I will say it's not what it once was for a lot of reasons, and there are some issues in the scouting world.
Every kid should join the Cub Scout.
In 1972, 6.5 million, nearly 1 in 3 boys ages 10 to 19, wore a Scout uniform.
Boy, do we need scouting.
But by 2017, membership had fallen to 2.3 million, amid revelations by men like Chris Malcolm, who said that Scout leaders had sexually abused them as kids.
He made a point to integrate himself into my family and my friends.
Now, with mounting legal costs and dwindling income from dues, the Wall Street Journal says the Boy Scouts of America is considering filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, they were struggling anyways. Take this away. They're not the Catholic Church. They don't have all that stuff, the money and all of that. No. So they're struggling, and that's hence the reason why now they're trying to allow girls. They're trying to do stuff. But we live in a world where, you know what, if you want to, you could have YouTube Scouts, and it's going to get a lot more. Kids just don't want to do it. My son, he likes it. He does. And I'm going to say this, all right? I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm going to be honest. Jack's a good-looking kid. Tall, blonde hair, strawberry blonde hair, blue eyes. Pretty hip kid. And when we go to his thing, little Nerdville, not a cool, hip thing to do anymore. And it used to be something where everybody kind of did. It was a rite of passage, even if you were. And it's not that way anymore. It's not. It's antiquated and it's outdated and it feels very old. And some of that is whatever, little, den or whatever you belong to. That's always whoever's the leader is will make it feel that way. But man, I took my little brother Bubba last year. His name's Kenny, but we call him Bubba. I took him for about a month and a half, 2 months when Spencer, my other brother, who was in the hospital for spinal surgery. So I take him every Tuesday night. And it was boring. It's awful. It was. I was like, there was no excitement. There was no fun. It just was me. And I could see why kids don't want to do it. I could. You better figure something out. YouTube the hell out of it. Just make it a YouTube. Just bring your tablets. YouTube the hell out of it. We'll all just practice making YouTube videos. You get a YouTube badge. Get a Netflix badge. Stuff like that. Coding badge. And I know they've got a few things where they're trying to make it, hip, but not going to work. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I love hearing from you. So, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. All right? Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It is made its announcement today of who is going in. We're going to talk a bit about who's going in. And we talk a lot about who's not in there. Because there's some surprises where I was like, really? And in one person in particular who, quite frankly, I'm shocked that she's not in. I'm shocked. Others may not be, but some may be. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. We've got a poll question today. And that poll question is, should speech be regulated by the government? 94% of you say no. 6% say yes in some cases. And some of you are tweeting in and texting me and saying, well, in this case or that case. What do you think? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Let's talk about it. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
We learned right after Michael Cohen was sentenced that a couple of months ago, the publisher of the National Enquirer entered into a non-prosecution agreement with federal prosecutors, admitting that they bought the rights to Karen McDougal, the former Playboy playmate who alleged an affair with Donald Trump. They bought the rights to her story in order to bury it. AMI, the parent company of the National Enquirer, admitted that they did that to benefit the Trump campaign, and the court papers noted that it was done in coordination with members of the Trump campaign.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting, and I think this is something that is going to rear its ugly head up. Now, is it enough that it's going to be an impeachment? No, here's my thing with this and how it's political. Today, Sean Wu, who is he's one of a CNN legal analysts, he was on today with Poppy, Harlow, and all of them, just chatting away, talking about this. And if a crime's committed, you should see it through to the end, right? Like if something's really committed and you think, we've got this person. But it's interesting to hear what he had to say.
Does this mean that this president is likely to be indicted on this charge when he leaves office?
Well, my opinion is there's enough to indict him there. I mean, they have accused him of participating in this. I think the question of whether they would indict him when he leaves office, to some extent, still will be a political question at that time. I mean, if he were to resign or be impeached while he's in office, I think there won't be much energy behind pursuing him afterwards.
Wow, so think about that. What he said is, essentially, if he's gone or he's impeached and he's no longer part of the political process and he's not president anymore, the chances of the system itself going after him, even though he may have committed a crime, are slim to none because there's no politics in it that is worthy of anything, and people will probably just be tired of it and want it to go away. And I'm like, wow, so is that it? Because that screams of politics to me. But that's what this is, politics. Politics always will rule the day, especially when you're talking about politicians. And everybody else doesn't have to deal with it. The Cohens and all of that, they have to deal with the might of the law and the things that they have done, some of which they said was at the behest of the president or then, individual one. And others, they've done stuff that they got caught doing, and the light was shined on them because of their association with Trump. But for Trump, and you can hear it there from Sean Wu, it's basically, well, if he's out of office and they impeach him or he resigns, then politically it's kind of over, and they feel like that's really all they want. Oh, yeah. I never thought of it like that. Yeah. Well, think about it just for a second. If that's all they want politically is just having him gone. And I have said, I do think the key to a lot of this stuff. Now, I think this whole thing with AMI and the Enquirer and the stuff that because they buried some stories and they hyped up some other stories. I think that is interesting. And that's the campaign finance side of it all. We're not talking Russia. We're talking women he paid off. We're talking a lot of other things, but we're not talking Russia. And that's how this whole thing started. Let's just remember that. This could be politically a giant pain in his ass, and I think it will be. But will it rise to the level of criminality? That remains to be seen. But you never know in this day and age. Good God. We have the court of public opinion. We have the actual courts themselves. And then we have the political court that is in that beltway in D.C. You got a lot of courts in the land. You do. Speaking of courts, speaking of public opinion, speaking of all of those things.
Def Leppard was the top vote getter voted on by the fans, and they put out a video thanking fans for helping them get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
We will be there in March because you voted for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Stevie Nicks, now a two-time inductee, tweeted that being recognized for her solo work was a glorious feeling. Meanwhile, in a statement, Radiohead said they were surprised to learn they were getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Janet Jackson tweeted, "We did it, you guys."
We did it, y'all. We did it. So, yes, those are, let's see here. It's not just them. Radiohead, obviously, in, which is weird because I don't know about that one. I don't know about Radiohead. I do not know about Radiohead. Roxy Music, Zombies are getting in. I'm good with that. The Cure, okay. Def Leppard, obviously. Stevie Nicks, I have no problem with Stevie Nicks. She's in with Fleetwood Mac and now with her solo career. Janet Jackson's getting it. I'm good with that. All right, I have no problem with that. Here's one of my problems with some of the snubs, and one that they didn't really even talk about. Whitney Houston sold 200 million albums. She's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If you're putting Janet in and you're not putting Whitney in, there's something right there that I find to be weird. Because 200 million albums is a lot of albums. That is a lot of albums. Huge, massive amounts of albums. Some that didn't get in. LL Cool J. Devo. Interesting. I would have put them in before Radiohead. Rage Against the Machine, I thought they were kind of, MC5, John Prine, Todd Rundgren, Kraftwerk. Man, that is weird. And I don't even know, like, they're trying to figure out, do you think Radiohead's going to show up? And they're like, nah, probably not. It's more of an American thing. They don't seem to care. They kind of shy away from these kind of things, as we all know. But it's, these things are weird. It's like next year, I think Mariano Rivera, the great pitcher, it's going to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. He'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer to go in Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame. Somebody's going to leave him off the ballot, right? Ken Griffey Jr. was not put on everybody's ballot as far as voting for him. Because why? Because you have the power to maybe say, well, maybe we shouldn't let you on in the first ballot because of this. It's ridiculous. I don't even think Babe Ruth got 100%. That's the insanity of something like this. But the fact that Whitney Houston's not on there, I'm sorry, that to me is insane, right? And I'm no apologist for Whitney Houston. Her music was her music. I could recognize her talent. She had a lot of issues, as we all know, right? More than a few issues. Bobby Brown being one of those issues. In saying that, when you sell 200 million of anything, you probably should be recognized. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. I do love hearing from you. A lot of you guys are tweeting in about the poll question of the day. And it comes after Ted Lieu, congressional Democrat from California, speaking on CNN yesterday morning about Capitol Hill, talking with the Google CEO, having his 5 minutes with him. And he was asked a question about free speech, and he said this.
I would love to be able to regulate the content of speech. The First Amendment prevents me from doing so.
That's uncomfortable. The fact that you would even say that I would love to. I mean, your answer should be, we have the First Amendment. It protects it. It protects speech. It does. And they're talking, well, what about hate speech? And who gets to decide what's hate speech or not? That's my thing. Who is it? Well, government entities. Somebody tweets in, he goes, Chad, yeah, it should be government entities like judges and congressional people. Well, who are they? Again, who gets to decide? Which are we going to set up federal agencies for these things? And the fact that other people are like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. I'm sorry. It's an awful idea. It's a horrible idea. Our founding fathers put that in there. And yes, would and should we be kinder to one another? Yeah, we should. But the reality is we need to protect the speech that we don't like. Because the minute you start going and attacking speech you don't like and wanting it gone, somebody will eventually come for your speech. And then you'll go for theirs. And then it becomes a vicious cycle. I mean, we see it now with the way that we police ourselves, politically correct police. And there are countries around the world. I mean, you see it all the time. You go to France and you go to a few of these other countries. And if you're a comedian and you say something that they deem to be hate speech, they'll take you to trial for it. Is that the world you want? I don't think so. It's not one I want. I know that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I said earlier, and people are going against me. Probably because you guys like the president so much, some of you. Not all of you, but some of you do like the president so much. But I said, the whole thing with the Enquirer and the Catherine McDougal story, if you guys have not, take another look at Catherine McDougal, because I think Melania is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I think she's beautiful. But I'm kind of in the Catherine McDougal. I think she's. I'm just saying. I'm putting it out there. Right? Like, I would love to have that choice. I don't have that choice. But she's pretty much a hottie. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, you can tweet at us. Speaking of a hottie, your barbecue may be hotting up. What? Yeah, because you're going to get Butcher Box. Yeah, you're going to order it, and you're going to love it. It's less than $6 a meal. You're going to get a month's worth of meals for less than $6. The best, the absolute best meat you're going to find. Just incredible. Quality cuts, all of it. Free range, free roaming, organic chickens. You got grass-fed, grass-finished beef. You got the best pork around. The flavor is amazing. It is like butter. It is like butter. You're going to love every single thing about this. And you're not going to find anywhere else. They're getting no antibiotics, no hormones. This is the way it's supposed to be. Arriving at your door month in and month out with meat that, well, it's going to make your stomach sing. What are you doing? Get with it. Perfect time is Christmas time. So what I want you to do. Go to butcherbox.com/Chad. This is what they're doing for my listeners. You're going to get $20 off your first box, $20 off your second box, and to sweeten the deal, they're going to throw in bacon in your first box. That alone is a winner chicken dinner, which you can have because you'll have chicken. See what I'm saying? Butcherbox.com/Chad. Butcherbox.com/Chad. Save yourself $20 and get some bacon. Butcherbox.com/Chad. At Chad Benson Shows your Twitter, ChadBenson. Got your useless fact of the day straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
Serving up talk radio medium rare and dripping with irony. It's Chad Benson.
Welcome to the party, pal!
The question of whether Die Hard is or is not a Christmas movie may never be answered unless you live in one of 4 states.
You can just disappear when you steal 600 million. They will find you unless they think you're already dead.
But folks in Wisconsin, Washington, Virginia, and Missouri say it absolutely is. That movie was downloaded more than any other Christmas flick, according to the website Streaming Observer.
All right, so Christmas movie, yay or nay? Is it an action movie? Is it a Christmas movie? I'm going to go Christmas. A little bit of Christmas movie. And I know they leave that mystery out there, but I'll go Christmas. Yeah, I'll go Christmas. Now, that's that part of the country. Say we move to the Midwest.
Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, and Ohio like Home Alone.
Okay, come and get me.
Oh, Home Alone. Interesting. I liked Home Alone. You know, I thought it was a good movie. It's one of those things, though. It's really weird, right? Like Macaulay Culkin. Was there anybody bigger? Maybe for a couple years, he was the biggest actor, and then he's just like, he was done, right? And just is. I think he's had some issues, but is a weird character. He is a weird character.
In the Southeast, Gremlins is most popular this time of year. Massachusetts loves Love Actually.
Love is all around me, and so the thing.
I'm afraid you did it again, Bill.
I like that movie. That's a pretty good movie, too. I'll watch a little Love Actually. Watch a little Gremlins, but I do like Love Actually. I do. I like The Ref. If you've never seen The Ref, it is a great movie. Dennis Leary, it's probably one of the only movies he's ever did. It's like he was at his, I think that when he was at his hottest, and it stars Kevin Spacey and him and a couple other people that you would recognize that are great character actors. And it was an amazing movie where he basically kidnaps a family and holds them hostage on Christmas Eve. And I love that movie.
Bad Santa, most popular in Nebraska, and in Kentucky, it's Elf.
Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Now, can Elf be considered a movie anymore with all of the stuff that's going on? I mean, should we even have that? Because he sings in that movie, right? Baby, It's Cold Outside. He sings in that movie. And on top of that, he's a voyeur, peeping Tom, because he's inside of the women's locker room as she showers when they sing that song. I don't know if you can count that. It's creepy, right? That's a little, it's creepy. And we know that song is awful, awful, awful. It's triggering lots of things for people. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. People are texting in about my stance on Whitney Houston. They're like, well, should she be in there? She's not really in there because she didn't do rock and roll. Yeah, but Madonna's in there. You should put Janet Jackson there. Would you classify Janet Jackson as rock and roll? It's really the Music Hall of Fame, because we've kind of just put rock and roll as like it's the, everything else is under that umbrella. So it's more of a Music Hall of Fame. And I would say, yeah, if you sell 200 million of anything, you deserve to be in there. You do. 100%. And by the way, if you want to know what the eligibility thing is, so it's not like Bieber's getting in there tomorrow. You have to have had your first album 25 years ago. So it's 25 years. So there's longevity, right? And then they've got all kinds of selection committees and all kinds of people that get to vote on it and go from there. So it's not like you're going to just roll on in there. It's like, oh, yeah, so-and-so's got 4 albums and they've all been huge hits, but he's only 27. And they're just going to let him in. But I can't believe people are like, why would you put Whitney in there? Well, you're putting Janet Jackson in there, right? You're putting Janet Jackson there. And, not that I have anything against Janet Jackson, right? I don't have anything against Janet Jackson. But in saying that, if you're going to put her in there and you don't have Whitney in there, I just find that to be weird. I do. I find it to be a little bit weird. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. We got a Twitter poll today. Free speech. Should government regulate free speech? Should they get involved in regulating free speech? What say you? You can text me, 323-538-CHAD. You can also tweet at us at Chad Benson Show. We've got your useless Christmas factoid of the day. So the Grinch, he stole Christmas, right? For those of you guys who don't know, the Grinch stole Christmas. But that was the sequel to the Grinch's first. And that was called Halloween Grinch Night. Came out a year before, rarely seen, rarely ever talked about. Not the hit that obviously The Grinch That Stole Christmas was, but I'm sure if Tim Burton got a hold of it, he'd make it something. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Have a good rest of your day. I'm off tomorrow, back on Monday. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.